What's going on, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes are back with one of our favorites, honestly, a local Vegas guy who we've known for a long time, seen him progress through the pre-UFC era until now. He's an actual UFC fighter for the last, well, how many years now, Dan? 5 or 6?
Yeah, half a decade. I
There
don't
you
know,
go.
something like that.
I think you get to 10, we can say you made a career out of it, being a UFC fighter, which I'm sure is a lot of MMA fighters' goals when they're progressing through, right? You don't want to just do a dance or two and then bounce and say, "Oh, I did it." I mean, I think you want to make a career out of it. And you're well on your way.
For sure. And it's crazy how fast the time flies because, I mean, I remember fighting in Titan FC and CFFC and LFA and Legacy, and like just to see how fast my career has progressed. And I'd say I'm probably one of the most active UFC fighters on the roster. Looking back at like the guys I fought and how many fights I've had and the amount of time, I don't know the statistics, but I feel like I'm up there, so can't complain.
This will be your 3rd fight this year, so that's definitely an active schedule. And honestly, if things go well, I could see you squeezing in the last one if you wanted to, or maybe you just call it a season and see you in 2024. But that's one way to keep your name out there, especially in a stacked division like yours.
100%, and that's my goal. At the beginning of this year, my goal is to fight 3 times. January when I fought Jamin Jackson, June, and then I was hoping for a December card at the end of the November, December. And we got the September offer, so I was like, and it was a good opponent, Bryce Mitchell, so we took that fight. But definitely, I'm on route to fight 4 times this year. You know, you never can look past a fight because you never know how it's going to go, but we do everything in our power we could do to win and, you know, get a good W and just hopefully keep the ball rolling and keep the momentum going. My wife's due with another baby at the end of February, so I'm hoping to fight, at least one more time before then and make it 4. If it's this year or early next year, doesn't really matter. But we'll keep herself relevant until I got to take a little break and
change diapers.
Yep.
Okay, so let me ask you a question here. I think it's relevant to you because you went down this path. And earlier in this interview, we talked about, the other promotions that you fought in. And of course, you did have a pit stop at Dana White Contender Series where they passed you over. This year, man, everyone's getting the contract. I would say, I think they went 5-5 the first 2 weeks, and pretty much every other week, maybe 1 or 2. No, I think just 1 hasn't gotten it. Does it chap your hide, or is it you passed it? Especially when he says, show me that you want to be here, or I don't know. I still remember the huge disappointment in the gym when you didn't get you got the win. You just didn't get invited to be part of the UFC because I thought you did fight your ass off, and I thought you proved you were UFC talent. And I know I'm going back a few years, but just your thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's all perspective. It's one of those things you could use as fuel, put that chip on your shoulder, like, man, I didn't get picked. But dude, I have almost 15 fights now in the UFC, so I'm far past that. Honestly, I'm a little guilty. I haven't even watched one episode of the Contender Series this season, and I've just been so busy. I'm focused on myself, but I'm grateful, man. I've been in this game for a minute. I've made over $1 million fighting in the UFC, so I'm grateful. I'm blessed. I have a house. I have a beautiful family. And those are the little things that I focus on. I don't really focus, except when Dana White does his thing, that if you don't know, now you know, and they put the Dana White Contender Series logo next to my name because they still didn't pick me, and they claim me.
Yeah, I remember, man. I want you to go for the finish. Your fight didn't go to a decision. You got the finish. This look, you're there. You're right. 15 fights in. I guess it was just something that went through my head this year because I remember the first year it was reality television, win, and then you all sit on those stools and we all wait, and one person's gonna get the contract. Whoa, he was crazy this week. He gave away 2, but for the most part, at least I thought that was kind of gonna be the setting. And now it's just like, everyone, come on in, come on in. to a roster that's already pretty damn full. I don't even know if you need more bodies, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't even imagine the stress of the matchmakers just having to bring on more and more and more. I mean, there's fights every single weekend, so I get it. They got to fill shows and, keep signing these prospects. But yeah, dude, honestly, the little things just don't care too much about anymore. And all I can do is focus on myself, focus on my own self growth and getting better and continuing to climb the ranks and make some money.
Mm-hmm. So Dan, Jackson, Landwehr, Mitchell, like these guys are no jokes. These are very tough fighters. Can you maybe point to one thing that you feel all three of them have in common, and then maybe a couple things that separate them as challenges?
They're all hillbillies. I don't know. They're all different in their own ways. Like Damon Jackson was one of those guys. When I fought him at the time, he was on a good 4-fight win streak. They were all on win streaks. Nate Landwehr, Damon Jackson, the only guys that's not on a win streak besides, is Mitchell, but he won 14 in a row before that. So, they all have little things that just give them that edge. Like Mitchell, he's good at obviously what he does when he gets on top, his top pressure. His wrestling game, I think, is really underrated because he doesn't have pretty wrestling, but he can fight from long extended positions and find a way to get the takedown, get the body lock, get the back. Damon Jackson was honestly very similar. So the preparation for Jackson and Mitchell are kind of the same, just a little bit different things here and there, just, being very urgent defensively and, finding in when to mix in my offensive takedowns too, because, I scored one on Jackson too. When I fought Jackson, it was like, don't let him touch you. Don't let him grab you, because that's his only chance of winning. And when I actually clinched up with him, I was like, man, this guy's not even that strong. So, I took him down at the end of round 1 and felt like I could have done it in round 2, but then I knocked him out. So Nate Landwehr was a little different because I knew he would kind of come in and he had that durability. I wasn't sure if he was going to wrestle as much, but we kind of assumed. We're like, all right, listen, how do we beat Dan Ige? Let's try to put him on his back or put him on the cage and, just win by points. He's hard to finish. He hasn't been finished. So let's just try to get a decision here. And he came out and struck with me, and it wasn't a surprise, but he was very tough. And we planned for that. Even Eric was like, hey, I know you got a walk-off KO over Damon Jackson. No walk-off KOs with this guy because he's just stupid tough. He's a zombie. I probably should have choked him out. But anyways, we got the win. Now we're fighting Mitchell, and he's very – I think people underestimate his stand-up a little bit. His stand-up's very herky-jerky and weird timing, but he hurts guys. He hurt Edson Barboza on the feet. So it's not like one of those fights like just don't get taken down and you win. You got to be kind of cautious and just mindful, very mindful everywhere the fight goes. And so I don't know, man. I don't. They're all a little bit different, but at the same time, it's just me showing up at my best and giving my best effort, and I believe I could be victorious.
Hey Dan, have you ever seen a cartoon where they got like a little devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other and they're talking to each other?
Yep.
Does being a fighter but also being on the management side, do you ever have one of those talking to you not from the fighter's perspective but from like the agent side? Because win here, that's a nice little streak, and maybe even a possible fourth one. I'm sure you've seen the other side of the negotiation tables. Like, does that ever happen to you? Do you ever have like two sides of you that talks to yourself?
I guess, but not in like the agent fighter aspect. It's just as a human aspect. You deal with the confidence and then the doubt, and both those voices creep into your head. For instance, when I fought Nate Landwehr, hearing everyone saying like, I'm just going to run through him. He's a perfect opponent that's built for me. And me knowing that I'm capable of that, capable of finishing him, capable of knocking him out and beating him. And also the other voice in me was like, well, this guy's crazy. He's got a gas tank. He's awkward. He could beat me. I'm still a human. Like, I'm beatable. I've lost before. So, people can put together game plans to beat me. And you think about that. So it's a balance of the doubt and then the confidence, and not being overconfident and not being too doubtful of yourself. I feel like I do a pretty good job managing it, but I'm very honest with myself. I'm honest of what can happen. I don't go in there thinking I can lose, but I know that I can lose. I also know that I can win. It's literally it's an option to go out there and either shut down and be behind and be just literally milliseconds behind. You can lose the fight, or just go in there and be focused on the present, be in the moment, and do everything you can and give the best effort you can. And, at least if you do that and you lose, you're okay with it, because you did everything that you're supposed to do leading up to it, and you did everything you could do in the fight to get the result you want. You just didn't get it. But that's kind of my main thing. It's just being very focused on being in the moment. But I have those mental battles every day. I think about it every day from the day I signed the contract. Even when I don't have a fight, it's like, when am I going to fight? I have those thoughts. Am I doing enough right now? Am I on the couch? Am I eating? Is my weight at a good point? Should I be lighter? Should I be heavier? Should I be running? Should I be lifting right now? It's always a weird, unknowing. I don't know. The sport's hard, especially when you don't know when you're going to fight. It's not like a league where you're fighting. You're going to fight. And like in the PFL, I'm going to fight 4 or 5 times this year, and I have every single date laid out. It's not like that in the UFC. Sometimes, like myself right now, I got a good streak going, good momentum. So they want to, you keep me relevant and keep me active. But last year I fought one time. Was coming off a 3-fight losing skid, and I fought one time, and it wasn't my choice. I was healthy, I was capable, and I wanted to keep fighting. Obviously, have to be smart. It's like on a 3-fight losing skid. Do I want to risk, losing again, losing my job maybe? I've seen people lose their job off 2 losses. So it's just one of those things. You got to just take it day by day and practice being in the moment, because if you're not in the moment, you're not in the fight.
Hey, Dan, I don't know if you remember this, and George too. Do you guys remember a show? I want to say it was called like Wife Swap or something, where they swapped families for like a week or something, and they had to kind of operate in the other person's environment. You guys are so polar opposite. If you were on a show similar like that, but let's just call it Fighter Swap, where he's over at a big gym like Extreme Couture now, and you got to go over there on his farm, who do you think cracks first, or who do you think would benefit more from the other person's environment? Like, do you ever look at the solitude that he has outside of just training with a little small group? Does it ever make you jealous? Do you think he would ever want a big group setting? I know it's a lot, but take it from there.
Well, I could only speak for myself. All I can say is I've been there before. When I was training in Hawaii, I was working construction full time. I was doing slave labor, picking up barrels of concrete, shoveling sand, getting messy, picking up 100-pound big stones, flag stones, and laying tile, and just doing everything. I was doing everything, slave labor, and then freaking going to train after that, and having to train while being tired. Like, so I know what it's like to live that labor life. I mean, for him, it's more of a lifestyle. Farmer, you live on the farm, and he has just like, he's living his dream, but that's also his comfort zone. I got to a point in my career, I fought 11 amateur fights in Hawaii, then I had 2 pro fights. And after my second pro fight, I had come out to Vegas a few times. I was living with Brad like for 2-3 weeks at a time, doing like little mini training camps. So I always knew I was going to make the move. But after my second pro fight, I was still in Hawaii. And that's when I knew I had to make the decision to just leave my house, leave my home, leave my comfort zone. I left Hawaii with no money, no job, no family. I had Brad out here. That was it. And, Extreme Couture, they opened their doors for me, and I had to earn my way to where I am now. I didn't know any of the coaches. I knew Robert Fallis from coming out a couple times, but he was the star. He was the big time coach. So I didn't even want to cross those boundaries. I was like, I'm just going to show up every day and keep putting in the work. And that's how I got introduced to Eric, because I was like, he wasn't really coaching a lot of guys yet. He was the gym manager, but he saw me showing up every day, and we kind of gravitated towards each other in that sense and started working our way up. But to your question, if we were to swap roles, I can't speak for him, but I can say I've been where he's at. I've had that smaller team. I've had that, just kind of labor environment, but I don't know. I'm doing everything possible to be the best in the world. I take care of my body. I do a full extensive strength and conditioning, my recovery. I train with some of the best guys in the world. One of the biggest gyms, our 45ers, 55, 35, 45, 55ers are just insane. That the level of talent on the mat is insane. Even guys that aren't in the UFC. And all I know is I'm getting pushed every single day. And I've created kind of a small team out of Extreme Couture to best benefit me going into my training camps.
Dan, I think you're alone. I think the family's away, so we can keep it real. If you went that way, would you miss that coffee press the most? The one in the background?
Oh, this one? Yes. I'd probably take it with me, to be honest. During the pandemic, they had us at that Marriott hotel on Dean Martin, and I took my espresso machine with me because we had to stay in the bubble. And that was, I don't know, it was cool just to be in the hotel and making coffees for my team. And yeah, I'd probably take it with me.
Bro, I think there's some stories of fighters that were on cards that couldn't even leave their room, right?
I don't know. It was a weird time. I mean, I fought a
It
bunch
was
of
in
times
Abu
in the
Dhabi. You
pandemic.
couldn't leave your room. They would even monitor the hallways. And then when you guys
Oh,
got
yeah.
the hotel, at least it became a bigger bubble because you had the hotel. But yeah, man, it's incredible. Some of the stories. Some PFL guys were sequestered for like 17 days in New Jersey on one of their cards. I remember that one too.
That's crazy. Yeah, I remember in Abu Dhabi, we literally Eric had a room next door, Eric and Skylar, and then I was in my room, but our balconies connected and you could squeeze through. So we just go over into each other's rooms, and because they taped our doors. So if you left, the tape would break. They'd know you left the room, but you could slide through the balcony. So we found our way.
You guys never got caught?
I mean, no.
Oh, good. All right. Well, no, because you remember there was a UFC fighter who snuck in a
Often.
teammate or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember what story that was, but
What's in the bag?
yeah. Hey,
I
while
remember.
the cat's away, the mice will play. Have you been training just as intense as if Eric were here cracking the whip?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about self-accountability, showing up even when you don't feel like it, keeping yourself accountable. I feel like I'm a very disciplined fighter. But yeah, Eric was gone. We communicated this before he left, and I don't think he was ever worried about me. He doesn't have to be there tracking. I keep myself accountable. I show up every day, but I feel like I'm at a point in my career where I have the confidence, because it takes confidence, but sometimes you need 2 days off. Sometimes you need 3 days off to, heal the body, get the body, because we constantly pound our body every single day. And you don't get worse in that time off. And that's where I feel like a lot of fighters are just, afraid of. They feel like they have to train 3 times a day, run their body into the ground. I'm in a way, I'm doing that because I'm in training camp and everything's just kind of dialed in, but there are days you just be like, we're going to pull back today. We're not going to do exactly what's on the agenda today. We have to adjust. We have to adapt, and we have to be smart. And that's where great coaches and a team comes in handy. So I have a really good team, and at the end of the day, I have to keep myself accountable and keep everyone accountable. And we just all do a really good job at it. So no pressure there.
Last question. At the top of your division is Alex Volkanovski. All three of us could probably say great things about the guy. It's well deserved. He's done it, he's had a great run. But when you are in your car and maybe you catch ESPN 100 local, Alex Volkanovski, man, the guy's unbeatable. Or maybe you go and listen to MMA Junkie and you hear a couple clowns that goes and I saying, man, it's tough. I don't know who's gonna. So when you hear a lot of that, right? What do you feel? What do you feel? I know you can't answer for the other featherweights, but I always wonder what the featherweights feel. Like is there something like, oh yeah, I got something for them? Like, like what is it fuel? Does it put a chip on your shoulder, or how do you interpret all that?
I think Alex Volkanovski is obviously one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world. I don't think about that like he's unbeatable. He's 100% beatable. He has lost before. I think it was like his first fight, but he's won everyone since. But he's beatable, and it's the right strategy and the right timing. And right now, it's not my time. It's not my time to be the one to beat him. But when my time does come, then that's something I can focus on. But I never really had the thought like, man, this guy. Even when I fought Mosar Evloev, he was undefeated. I didn't have a doubt that I was going to lose to him. I just thought I had the recipe to beat him, and I didn't. It wasn't my night, and just one of those things, man. It's like every single person is beatable, but it's fighting. Fighting is all about timing, and his time will come, my time will come, and yeah, I don't know. I don't think too much about it.
I like it. That's a great attitude to have. You don't necessarily have him on a pedestal, but you give him his respect. At least that's what it sounded like to me. So, Dan, thank you so much for the catch up. Good luck with the rest of your camp leading into the Bryce Mitchell fight on the 23rd here in Las Vegas. You guys are the co-main event that night here at the Apex. And, of course, safe weight cut, all that good stuff. And we'll talk to you soon, man. Well, I'm sure we'll see you at the gym soon.
Okay, sounds good. Right on, guys.